Hey folks, this is Richard of Moviethon.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Hello and welcome to Hello, This is the Doom Show. I am Richard.
I am Brad.
And welcome to our Dario Argento show part 2. They said we'd never get to it.
And we almost didn't.
They were wrong. When Brad said we should totally do an Argento episode. And I said, awesome, let's do it. Part 1, the 90s films. I don't think I was being insanely cruel, but it definitely felt good to hear your happy thoughts dying over the phone.
It wasn't bad.
No, it was a fun episode. I really just wanted to get like the worst era out of the way. Well, let me rephrase that. One of the worst eras out of the way.
Right.
Stay tuned for our Dario Argento, the 2000s films.
Actually, there's some gems there.
There's something.
Yeah.
I am very much a Argento. I'm not going to say an apologist. I will say an understandist.
Yes.
Though I have a breaking point. Okay.
Well, I think we hit one of the breaking points with the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, man. Woo! Like, anything that could make his Dracula look good, you know. Ouch.
Wow.
Yep. So we're here.
Totally buying that Dracula when it comes out. When it hits a certain price point, I'm buying it.
I can't wait to tell the world my thoughts on that movie because they're not ready. They're just not ready for it. And then again, the world wasn't ready for Dario Argento's Dracula.
Especially if they've seen it, they're not ready for it.
God, I hope he does a Frankenstein as well. And
that would
the
be
Mummy
amazing.
And the creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, hope he just churns them all out in a weekend.
A bunch of clip art.
Franco. Okay, so the reason we're here is we're going to talk about Dario Argento's famous animal trilogy. We're talking about The Bird with Crystal Plumage. We're talking about Cat o' Nine Tails and Four Flies on Grey Velvet. That's the animal trilogy because, and my wife pointed this out to me, she went, flies are an animal? And I was like,
yes, indeedy.
Yes. Just because they're insects, don't be hating. This is your last warning for spoilers, folks. We are going to spoil everything. So, if for some reason you haven't seen this trilogy, then go do it.
Go now.
Oh my god, like, I can't stress enough how important these films are. So, for the rest of us, yes, you know how these things end. The priest did it.
Everyone.
The priest was drinking J&B and vomited straight razors on a model. And Erica Blank did something. I don't know.
Yeah. Took her clothes off and did a little dance.
And Rosalba Neri showed up.
Naked.
As usual.
The Phantom of Terror. When he appears, don't scream. It's already too late. From the people who brought you Nightmare, now comes the Phantom of Terror, formerly Bird with the Crystal Plumage. No one knows where he comes from, but his calling card is always grisly. no one escapes the Phantom alive. The Phantom of Terror.
Now showing at the Embassy Theater and a theater near you.
So, we will start with Bird with the Crystal Plumage, directed by, Dario Argento or whatever, released in 1970. I'm going to go to IMDb's very succinct plot description. A writer is stalked by a serial killer after witnessing a murder attempt on one woman's life. Wow. Really?
Mm-hmm.
That was way too easy.
That was simple.
That was very simple.
I like it.
I'm just going to go through my sort of linear notes here and talk about some things that make this movie special, make this movie wonderful, and then I, of course, encourage Brad to chime in on these things, and then we'll talk about why we love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, some trivia. And Brad, how are you doing on the cast? Can we talk about other films these people have been in?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So that's what we're going to do, kids. Hold on to your hats.
Hold on to your fedoras.
We've got multiple bottles of J&B in this movie, including my favorite, the J&B ashtray, which is very special.
Very.
I don't know if there are Aster cigarettes in this or not, but that's the cigarette of choice in Giallos, by the way.
It is indeed.
They're not as common as J&B, but I've definitely seen them in multiple films. Okay, first thing that's awesome about this movie is the killer. This killer has fetishized knives to the point where I almost get aroused when I watch this movie. The killer's very organized, typing up their victims' trivia or typing up their victims' I don't know,
schedule.
Yeah, their schedule, and just it's a very methodical kind of a deal. The killer's antagonist, if you will, is Sam Dalbus, a prick. He is also, unfortunately, a memory machine. He's a bit faulty, but he does record things very well as we see the memory of the event that he witnessed over and over again in various states of fast forward, pause, and rewind.
Yeah, this is really in Argento's filmography, the start of something in my memory doesn't quite fit. You'll find that a time or two in his filmography. And
he'll even take that and turn it on its head in other movies. It's great. It's a lot of fun. The first thing we get is the big set piece. The art gallery. It is perfection. Like, there's just so much to see. The use of silence and sound, and he takes Argento takes all the color out of this room. It's a very chic art gallery with grays, blacks, and whites, so that the red of Monica Ranieri's hair and the blood from her wound is just very striking. Then there's Inspector Morosini, our official detective, not the unofficial detective, which is Sam. He is very dry, very like a little touch of humor to him. He's also really desperate, since this is let's see, Monica Ranieri is she's the third victim by the time Sam gets involved. It's weird, without sending Sam out on his own, they would have never solved this crime, ever.
No. One thing I like is right before he witnesses this scene in the museum, he makes it very clear that he's a struggling writer, and his friend had recommended him to go to Italy because nothing ever happens in Italy. And of course, he's about to be proven completely and totally wrong in a mere minutes.
What I do like is that he has utter disdain for his friends. His friend is Carlo, played by Renato Romano. His friend gets him this writing gig to write a book about rare birds, which will come into play later. When it's time for him to collect his check for the book, he doesn't even want to copy the book.
Nope.
Nah, keep it. Fuck it. Whatever. And it's like, oh my god, you bastard.
Well, really, I find him to be the middle point of the three protagonists of the three films in the Animal Trilogy. I find him to be smack dab in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of them
boy.
is a lot nicer, and one of them is a lot more of a dick.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're going to get into that tonight. So, another important set piece is the museum full of the rare dead birds that Sam is walking through. We see kind of a foreshadowing of the titular bird with the crystal plumage, and a cat somehow has managed to get inside the case with these rare birds. It's very cool. That cat could represent the killer, and those birds could represent their victims, whatever.
Listen to you.
Mm-hmm. The next set piece we get is Sam is going home, and I really like the scene where he's been out all night with the cops who have been grilling him about what he saw. An unseen person with a big old meat cleaver, nearly chops his head off and hits a pipe on the side of the street, which bursts water. And the whole scene is just brilliant. The car speeding away is really cool. It just feels like dynamic, like it's from another movie compared to the other one. It's really cool.
I like the fog in that scene.
Oh, it's gorgeous. An old woman saves his life by yelling at him to get out of the way. That old woman is Maria Tedeschi. We've talked about her quite a bit on the show in our various Giallo episodes for some reason. Mm-hmm. And then bring out the perverts. We have a funny scene. There's a lot of comedy in these movies that actually works. Bring out the perverts is when the cops have a lineup of, unsavory characters. Unfortunately, a man dressed as Ursula Andress comes out and is like, no, take Ursula Andress and put her with the cross-dressers. We don't want her out here with the regular perverts.
The transvestites.
Brilliant.
Which is funny because he looks nothing like Ursula Andress.
I think you're right. So we start getting some pseudoscience here. The computer printout with a figure of a man is brilliant. Like, they discuss how many people was it that they thought 150,000 potential people or something like that.
It turns out that we are every bit as smart as this computer is.
Like, if you can draw a picture of a man in silhouette, then you can be the computer.
Yeah, I mean, the computers in this film are amazing because they go to them more than once. And, of course, they fill an entire room and they spit out a dot matrix printout of a man. And it's like it could be any man in the city.
Who smokes fine cigars and wears gloves. So maybe.
And the one guy's wearing sunglasses inside in the computer lab. It's crazy.
Oh my God, pseudoscience. Genius. So, of course, the detectives, because they're losers, have to depend on Sam, which is a thing in Gialli, which is the non-professional detective.
I mean, it's somewhat of a populist film genre.
Yeah.
Really. It's rarely the cops that are... I mean, this guy here, the inspector, he's no moron. But yeah, you usually have an amateur detective.
Oh, that's the one I'm looking for. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sam's lady friend, Susie Kendall. I will probably forget to call her Julia and call her Susie Kendall the rest of this discussion. She's a hothead. Doesn't like that Sam is being dealt this hand by the police, which includes them confiscating his passport. But she's also a very silly character. I don't know how you feel about Susie Kendall. I've never been a big fan of hers.
I don't mind her. She's in a couple of good films.
Yeah.
What I think's funny is that he's American. She's clearly British. They're in Italy. He's going to take her home to America. They are the only occupants of this house. Their lease runs through the next week.
Oh yeah.
They're going to leave any time, but yet all their stuff is still unpacked. Like, are they going to leave all this stuff behind, or what?
Hey, let it all burn. Let it all go crumbling down with the rest of the building, right? Mm-hmm. So Sam starts hitting the streets to solve the crime, to solve the murders. he treats it like a game. Like the way they're putting this all together, he and Susie are doing this. He and Julia, damn it, are putting together this dossier of their own with the newspaper clippings and all. It just seems like a big game. Like they are not prepared for what is going to occur at all.
No.
We get our insane gay stereotype. One of the victims was a young lady who worked at a antique store, and he goes there, and the owner, which I will play the dialogue for you because it's ridiculous.
Isn't this the shop where that girl worked?
Pardon?
The girl who was murdered.
Ah, the poor girl. What a terrible way to end.
What was she like?
Oh, lovely girl, but a little unusual, you know.
Oh?
Well, yes. It was said that she preferred women.
Oh.
I couldn't care less.
Of course not.
I'm no racist, for heaven's sake.
He is played by a German dude.
Who was actually in, if you remember our classic Crimmy episode,
Oh,
he is in, I believe, The Black Abbot, I believe.
Yes, that sounds right.
He is in a couple of Crimmy, yeah.
Yeah, Werner Peters.
Werner.
Yeah, he is definitely a ragingly gay stereotype. Very funny, very flirtatious with Sam.
Oh, he's also in The Blonde Connection with Fabio Testi, which is an early Giallo appearance from Fabio.
Is that Anita Ekberg?
It is indeed.
Mm-hmm. She has a crazy hat in that movie.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a Giallo, but it's kind of a hybrid almost. It's got some... it's almost got some sex comedy in it a little bit.
Yeah. Is it a resort or something?
Yeah. God. I don't know if sex comedy is the right way to put that, but it's a Giallo that's not fully formed yet.
Yeah.
I think it's from 69, maybe?
Yeah, 68 or 69. I really want to watch that again.
Yeah, it was a decent little film.
So the gay stereotype introduces the piece of art, the art that will bring about the deaths of many people, and it is brilliant. Basically, this piece of art was sold on the day of the murder. This was the first murder, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a brilliant shot where Sam is allowed to take home a black and white print of this painting by Berto Consalvi and hang it up in his apartment so he can, kind of focus on it because he knows the case has something to do with this piece of art. He doesn't know what yet. Julia comes home and is disturbed by this painting, and they zoom in on it. As they're zooming in on it, the painting turns to color, from black and white to color, and then we pan back and we're in the killer's lair as the killer's preparing for another night of fun.
With the killer standing in front of it. So where you had Sam and Julia looking at it, now you have the killer. It's seamless.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it. I
think they just pulled a trick on us.
It's
Who knows, man?
nice.
They probably had some computers and shit.
Rooms full.
It's the magic of filmmaking, damn it. It's beautiful. And
It is beautiful.
And it's things happening at the same time. We get the first on-screen killing. The killer is tracking a woman. This is fourth victim. Rosita Torash is the one who plays this very voluptuous character. She's a gal about town. She goes to the racetrack, has some fun. She does live alone, which, hey, big mistake. To all our female listeners, stop living alone.
Yeah, really. Find a man.
What ifs?
Do we have any female listeners?
Yes. No. I don't know.
No.
They haven't written in
Probably
to tell us
not.
to shut up.
So probably not.
So then probably not. The killer's following her, and there's a great scene where she's getting ready for bed, and she's smoking in bed like you do when you live alone. I think smoking in bed is a bad idea.
I do it all the time.
Brad.
I burned down 3 apartments.
There's a shot where from her perspective, she's looking at her doorway and smoking. She turns to tap the ash on her cigarette, turns back, and the killer is magically there. This is a pretty brutal crime for a film from 1970.
It is indeed.
It's not gory. It is just really violent and sexualized violence. The killer cuts open her top and then cuts off her panties. Or tears off her panties. It's very strange. Very strange. Like, you're not supposed to do that to ladies. That's not nice.
No, and you're not supposed to stab them.
It's a frightening murder. It's pretty
it is.
Impossible to ignore how people might have been really freaked out by this movie. Because we're all jaded now, but come on.
We weren't. We were innocent in the 70s.
Inspector Morosini goes on TV to explain to the public, how effective the police are and what they're doing to catch this killer. The killer takes the opportunity to call, and the voice is very creepy, laughing and taunting.
Inspector Morosini? Hello?
I wanted you to know how much I enjoyed your talk on television just now.
Who's this?
Oh, but the person you are all so anxious to find. The unknown of our whole city fears. Quick, record the call on Morosini's line. You haven't got a clue, not a suspicion. Nothing. You know that, and so do I. It isn't right to trick the public, and to prove your threats don't frighten me, I'm telling you now. You'll have a fifth murder to solve before the end of the week.
Hello.
And of course, we need more comic relief because, hey, we're getting too heavy here. Next on Sam's list of people he needs to talk to is So Long, the pimp.
So Long.
His name is So Long because in order to stop stuttering, he will say the phrase So Long. And in a real knee slapper, Sam sits down to talk to him in jail, where So Long is being kept. And he answers his question and then throws So Long at the end, so Sam gets up to leave. It's a very dry joke. But I do like So Long. Oh no. Do they not have him as So Long on the fucking... Are we going to have this problem with Gigi the Loser, too?
Pino Patti.
Okay, so Pino Patti plays So Long. It's very funny. We'll see that actor again, I believe.
No. The reason I said that was because he is in all three of the Animal Trilogy.
Oh.
Pino Patti is the barber in The Cat of Nine Tails.
Really?
Let's see.
Holy shit.
His real name is Garullo in the film, is that right? The actor's name is Gildo DiMarco, because he's also the postman in Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
Well, who's Pino Patti, then?
Pino Patti is Faina. I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
He is also the barber in The Cat of Nine Tails, and he is the second funeral exhibition attendant in Four Flies.
So Garullo is the dude who's the
Garullo.
postman. Okay. So Long has a funny line about how it's definitely not a poor person who's committing these crimes, because only rich gentlemen get these crazy ideas.
Yes.
I really like that.
It's true.
We get a chase sequence. Someone hires an assassin. The assassin, played by Reggie Nalder, a yellow-jacketed man with a pistol with a silencer, to kill Sam, to take him out of the equation so that the case won't get solved. And we get an insanely long chase sequence. I didn't like it. It was one of the things I didn't like about this movie. I have since retracted those feelings, because I actually really like that sequence now. Reggie Nalder, a very imposing figure. We see the second murder. This time, the killer targets a young lady and kills her in an elevator, or an escalator. No. What the hell did I write there? Oh, he slashes her with a straight razor, abandoning the knives this time. And it's another brutal crime. Karen Valenti is the victim this time around. That's the actress name, by the way. Another comedy character comes along named the Hyena. Oh, that might be who Faina is. That might be Pino Patti's character.
You might be right.
Because maybe in the Italian it's just Faina, and they call them Hyena or something. This character is a detective of sorts. And he finds out things. He's insanely paranoid. Oh, this character was recommended by So Long the Pimp, by the way. He's a detective of sorts. He's just a very backwards kind of character. He strikes me as a post-war weirdo, like someone who's shell-shocked, perhaps. Maybe they were a black marketeer from the war era or something very odd. There's some funny things where he asks Sam if his apartment is bugged, and he always refuses payment out loud, but then accepts it quietly, in case the place is bugged. And they set him to work to find out some information. At the same time, the killer calls Sam, and the cops have given him a tape recorder device so that he can tap his own phone calls. We hear a strange sound in the background of this call, which might be important later. Hyena does his job and sends Sam out to where the assassin lives. And of course we find out that the killer has killed the assassin, which it's a more of a rare giallo trope, where a bodyguard or a quote-unquote badass character, or, an assassin, if you will, is no match for the killer. I love that. Mm-hmm. And I also like how Sam discovers the body of the assassin in the guy's apartment.
Mm-hmm. And it's somewhat of a foreshadowing of a trick that Argento will use years later.
That is true. I do like the...
very well done.
I like the nudie girls cut out of magazines taped up on on the assassin's wall.
Yeah, and the use of Reggie Nalder, of course, ties this film and Argento even more to Hitchcock, because Nalder was in the remake that Hitchcock remade himself of The Man Who Knew Too Much. And it also, looking forward, ties him to Toby Hooper and Stephen King, because Nalder was Barlow the vampire in Salem's Lot.
Oh my god, that's right. Very cool. Was Nalder in Mark of the Devil, or is that a different dude?
No, actually, I believe he was in Mark of the Devil. Let me look. He was indeed. 1970, the same year.
I recognize him from artwork. I've never seen that movie.
I haven't either. Apparently, he was also in Fellini's Casanova.
Ah, neat.
And Dracula's Dog, Zoltan, the Hound of Dracula.
Nice.
Which everyone knows is a very, very important film.
Damn right. Actually, Casanova is really hard to find a decent version of. So it's like, oh, you can watch it in full frame. Ooh, full frame Fellini, my favorite.
He was also in an episode that I really like of Boris Karloff's thriller, entitled The Return of Andrew Bentley.
Nice.
He plays Andrew Bentley.
Does he return?
He does return. They did not lie.
Damn.
They delivered.
So
anyway, so he gets called the Italian Hitchcock, and right there in his first movie, you've got working with an actor that was in a Hitchcock film right off the bat.
He did on purpose.
I think he did.
Pseudoscience will come into play yet again as the scientists try to analyze the voice and on the recording, and they try to analyze the sound, but they are no help. Luckily, the sound will intrigue Sam's friend Carlo, the bird expert. He will take this recording and run away for a while to go analyze it himself. Next thing you know, Sam has to meet the painter of the painting, Berto Consalvi. And again, Mario Adorf is awesome. Oh my god, like, more comic relief, another comedic character, as if we hadn't had enough already. This guy's he's a very eccentric painter, lives on the second floor of his house, has boarded up the bottom of the house. I'll play some dialogues. You can hear the craziness of this character.
Hey, why did you wall up your house?
To keep out the busybodies. Nobody gets in here unless I want them to. Besides, there's cats. Who told you about me?
Oh, nobody. I saw one of your paintings. I liked it.
What was it?
It was, one about a murderer killing a girl.
Bah. I don't do that crap anymore. I'm going through a mystical period. I only paint mystical scenes.
Why?
Why? Because I feel mystical, if it's any of your damn business.
He explains about the painting and how he witnessed this killer nearly killing a girl and painted this painting. And he also feeds Sam some cat meat, which is very important to the plot later, because Sam will be sitting on the toilet shitting out the cat meat when Julia gets murdered by the killer. Or is that deep red? Deep brown. I went there.
Deep brown. You did go there.
The killer does come after Julia, and she has a spaz attack. Like, yes, she's scared of the killer. She locked herself in the apartment, and she's pretty safe for the most part, but the killer is kind of hacking their way through the door and leaving a big hole in it, and she's just screaming and screaming. It's my least favorite scene in the movie. Only because she falls on the floor and is like whimpering, and I'm like, oh my god, like, get it together, lady. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Put some water on the boil, you know? Get all fucking straw dogs on that motherfucker.
Yeah, shoot him.
Yeah, shoot him with your shotgun and throw a man-sized bear trap. Convenient.
You know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. The next day after this harrowing experience for Julia, Carlo comes by with the info. He knows what the sound is now. It's a bird, and they happen to have it over at the zoo. It is some crazy-ass bird. We'll talk about it later. Thanks to my trivia gathering. And we get the first ending of the movie, which is now they know that the zoo is right next to Monica and Alberto Ranieri's apartment. So, of course, bam, the killer was calling from there. They go upstairs to find Ranieri and his wife struggling yet again, just like Sam witnessed before. And this time, Ranieri, he takes the knife and threatens the cops. There's a scuffle. Cop gets stabbed. He flies out the window backwards. While all this is going on, Julia, Carlo, and Monica run out. Monica runs out first with Julia and Carlo in tow, and they're just out of the scene. Duder falls out of the window. As he's dying, says, "I'm sorry about all the people I killed, yada, 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 I'm innocent." Are they trying to give him a blood transfusion in the street?
There is something going on, yes.
Okay, thank you. More pseudoscience. One of the cops just has his arm out, and it's like, yep, I got this. There's tubes. There's tubes! We got the second ending of this movie. Sam is running around looking for Julia because the cops are gone. Everything's resolved. Where the hell's Julia? Finally, he asks people. They guide him to this weird old building and through this back entrance, the hallway. There's a lot of light and darkness. There's just all these like brightly lit moments and dark scenes. It's really, really effective building towards something. He finds his buddy, Carlo, with a knife, smiling. And he is convinced that Carlo was the killer. Carlo is dead. And
D-E-D.
I actually feel really bad for Carlo because he was a nice dude.
Yeah, he was.
Sure enough, the killer reveals herself to be Monica. I call her the evil Catwoman because she creeps me out as though she was some kind of a inhuman creature. She's definitely really, really great performance and just super creepy. Susie, aka Julia, is fine. She's just been tied up. She was about to be killed, but luckily Sam showed up. Sam chases Monica through the darkness. Turns out he's back in the art gallery where this whole mess started. She cuts loose one of these giant, hideously ugly sculptures with lots of spikes, falls on him. He is struggling, and my favorite scene of the movie is her taunting him because he's trapped, promising him that he's going to die, which I will play the audio from that because it is quite a great performance from the voice actor. that you have to hear to believe. It's really unsettling.
You're going to die. You're going to die. Like all the others.
And just when she's about to kill Sam, bam, the cops, literally, bam, just show up and save the day. And Sam and Julia fly away on a jet, and with Sam talking about how he is now writing again. Hooray, he got his mojo back. Oh, and Inspector Morosini goes on TV with a psychologist who explains everything. More pseudoscience of the psycho variety.
Absolutely. Another Todd Hitchcock.
And that, folks, is frickin' Bird of the Crystal Plumage. Let me run through the trivia, then we'll talk about how this movie makes us feel.
Do it.
You ready? All right. This is by no means complete trivia. There's a lot more about this movie out there. Duh. But this is some cool stuff I found. This movie was loosely based on the 1949 novel The Screaming Mimi by Frederick Brown.
Which Elizabeth has read, and she said the movie is pretty spot on.
Of course. Wait. This was shot in just 6 weeks. It's very quick.
That's impressive.
Must have had a lot of planning for that. Argento was a successful screenwriter and movie critic. He borrowed money from his well-off father to produce his directorial debut. After funds were gathered from German producers interested in a run-of-the-mill crimi, such as the Edgar Wallace-inspired films, which were a staple at West German box offices in the day. So that would explain all the German people in this movie.
No doubt.
Or just one. Just Werner. Okay.
All that one guy.
One guy who wasn't a couple creamies. I said creamy. Damn it. All right.
You owe the swear jar.
At one point, an executive producer wanted Dario Argento removed from the production when he was disappointed by a screening of some dailies. When Argento's father, Salvatore Argento, went to the executive's office to talk to him, he found the executive secretary visibly shaken. When he asked the secretary what was troubling her, she said she saw the screening and the footage terrified her. Salvatore then asked her to tell her boss about her reaction to the screening. She convinced the executive to keep Dario Argento on as director. Okay, you ready for that bird trivia?
I've been waiting.
The Hornitis nivalis bird species does not actually exist. The one seen in the film is played by a gray-crowned crane. Although it looks like a frickin' peacock to me.
It does.
The POV shot used when Alberto Ranieri falls to his death was achieved by actually dropping a camera 6 stories onto a concrete sidewalk. The camera did break, but the footage was saved. Let's see. The film was released in February of 1970 in Italy and on June 12th in the United States. It was the 13th highest grossing film in Italy that year. It was nominated for Best Picture at the Edgar Allan Poe Awards in 1971.
Wow.
Which sounds like a dubious award at best. I couldn't find any information on that award.
And it didn't even win it.
It won an Italian Golden Globe for Best First Feature.
Indeed.
That's all my trivia. I do have alternative titles, and this is pretty awesome, I think. Okay, so I've translated these poorly, so enjoy. From Belgium, this movie was called The Knife Killings, which I like because, knives can't be killed. In Sweden, this was called Killing Birds, which references a terrible movie. Also, Sweden, The Death of the Bird, which is totally not true. In Japan, this movie was called Fang of Joy, which sounds very familiar to me.
I like that.
Should be a zine name.
It should be.
In the USA, this movie was referred to as The Phantom of Terror. And in the UK, this was called The Gallery Murders.
Gallery murders.
Fascinating. I grabbed some taglines from various posters here. We warned you not to be alone. If you think you are being followed home from this movie, keep telling yourself that it's all in your mind. That is irresponsible poster tagline, all right?
Very much so.
What if you're being followed?
This will be the last movie you will ever see.
Exactly. This is spine-tingling suspense that made Hitchcock a household word. A Jack the Ripper type story with a twist.
Okay.
That's how it reads. A stunning portrait in psycho terror. And finally, all the screaming in the world won't help.
You know, going back to your different titles, so other than Fang of Joy, which makes no sense,
right.
They named it correctly, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
The Phantom of Terror, obviously.
Obviously. You showed me that American trailer, and they even reference it they're like, The Phantom of Terror, formerly known as the Bird of the Crystal Plumage.
I'm totally playing that audio. It's so good.
Yeah, why would you do that? It makes no sense.
Maybe they wanted to fit it onto a marquee. I have no idea.
Maybe there was like 3 people that were going to go see it. They're like, wait a minute, I've already seen this. Thanks for telling me. This looks familiar.
You saved me money. Thank you, Ticket Man. So, Brad, what about this cast? There's a lot of familiar faces in this movie. Have you got any cross-titling things for me?
I have the most cross-titling with The Bird of the Crystal Plumage. Tony Masante, who played Sam Dalmas, was in a TV series called Thomas, which I've never seen. But when he died recently, that's what they referenced. He was in A Professional Gun / The Mercenary, directed by Sergio Corbucci in 1968. It also starred Franco Nero and Jack Palance.
I want to see that.
I do too. Susie Kendall, who played Julia, was also in Psycho Circus, which is a krimi with Christopher Lee and Klaus Kinski. She was in another giallo called In the Devil's Garden.
Good one.
That I enjoy. She was in a giallo from Lindsay called Spasmo, which I also... I haven't seen it in a long time. She was in a Freddie Francis film called Craze that also had Jack Palance.
Oh my God. That was a crazy movie.
Is it good?
Yes. It's something.
She was in Tales That Witness Madness, which is a Freddie Francis film. The other big giallo that she was in is Torso.
Yep. Where she played the same character.
She played the same character. A little less hysterical. Enrico Maria Salerno played Inspector Morosini. He was in Execution Squad with Mario Adorf.
Nice.
And The Night Train Murders that no one needs to see. Eva Renzi played Monica Ranieri. She was in Taste of Excitement, a 1970 film by Don Sharp that sounds interesting. I haven't seen it. Umberto Rejo was in, among other things, The Ghost, Castle of Blood, The Long Hair of Death, 15 Scaffolds for the Killer, which is apparently a giallo western hybrid, The Cat of Nine Tails, Baron Blood, Amok, Night of the Devils, Crimes of the Black Cat, and The Eerie Midnight Horror Show. So basically he was in every Italian horror film made. Renato Romano, who played Professor Carlo Dover, which was Sam's friend, was also in Iguana with a Tongue of Fire, The Fifth Chord, 7 Bloodstained Orchids, The French Sex Murders, and the gem of his filmography, Frankenstein 80. Ooh, I did it. I said it. Damn. Giuseppe Castellano was Monty. He was in Caliber 9 and Return of Sabata, excuse me. Mario Adorf was in Caliber 9 and What Have They Done to Your Daughters? Werner Peters, the antique dealer, was in The Black Abbot. It's a krimi that we did not discuss on a show that we did not discuss krimis. Phantom of Soho, which is also a krimi that we also did not discuss in our show. And The Blonde Connection. And then Rosita Tarash, whose official role was entitled Fourth Victim, was also in Duck You Suckers, Night of the Devils, The Dead Are Alive, Flesh for Frankenstein, Spasmo, and Leorme, which is also known as Footprints on the Moon.
She had the big boobs.
She did.
Oh, God.
And that's what I've got for cast.
Very
the only
nice.
thing in my notes that I've got that we didn't discuss
Yeah.
as we went along, the black and white crime scene photos, when they reference them, they show them in black and white, kind of like in flashes, and you hear like a camera flash. I like that. The transitions in the film, the editing transitions are really good, like at the end where the guy tells him it's a bird with a crystal plumage, and they got it at a zoo. You suddenly, the next cut is tigers, and you're at the zoo, and then the cast walks right in front of the tiger cage. It's really, really neat. It's a very nice transition.
Nice.
And my final thing, Erica Blank is in this film. Where is she?
Is there a movie poster?
That is where she is. She is on a poster during the chase scene between Needles, which is apparently the name of Reggie Nelder's assassin character, and Sam Dalmas. And it is a poster of 1969's Lo Emmanuel, which in English was titled A Man for Emmanuel.
Oh,
and that film also stars Adolfo Celli.
I have that movie, but I have not watched it.
The Blu-ray of this, The Blue Underground, is amazing. I haven't seen the VCI, so I really couldn't speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that the Arrow UK Blu-ray is in famous cinematographer Vittorio Storaro, which this was his third full-length, feature-length film. Of course, he's a brilliant, multiple Oscar-winning cinematographer, but he has created what him and his son call the Univisium system. Which is a 3-perforation 35mm format with an aspect ratio of 2:1. So what he has done has gone back and ruined all his old movies by cutting them down into this 2:1 aspect ratio, which obviously true, which cuts down, of course, on the left and right side. And this apparently is what they released on Blu-ray in the UK from Arrow.
Oh my god, I need to see screenshots from that.
Normally, when you go to the cinematographer, it has been my experience that the cinematographer does his best to preserve the original viewing aspect, the color timing, just the general look of the film. And I reference, of course, the newest Halloween Blu-ray, which there are 2 Blu-rays here in America of Halloween. The first one was from 2007, and it is a very bright film. It looks amazing, but it doesn't look like fall. But it doesn't really bother me. Well, the 35th anniversary is Dean Cundy, the cinematographer, approved, and they fixed the color timing to look like it did when they first released it. Normally, as I said, this has been my experience when cinematographers go back and help preserve the films that they worked on. But for some reason, Storaro has changed this to this new that he came up with. So it's 2:1. And I had read about it, then I had forgotten, and then Simon, our friend Simon, had mentioned it, and I'm like, I don't have any idea why he would do this. You delete, portions of the left and right part of the screen. It totally would mess up the general feel of the film even.
Yeah, it's drastic.
And this guy has done. I mean, not only did he do Apocalypse Now, the same year he did The Conformist for Bertolucci.
Oh.
The Fifth Chord, L'Orme, he won an Oscar for Apocalypse Now, for Reds, for The Last Emperor. Just a very talented cinematographer.
Mm-hmm.
He is, but for some reason he's decided to mess up all his old films. I'm glad.
You develop the system, and then you make new stuff with it. You don't go back and futz with the old goodness.
No.
Holy crap, what a weirdo. Yeah, I'm comparing, while you're talking, I was looking it up, and I'm comparing the screenshots from the Arrow to the screenshots from the Blue Underground. And you're losing a massive amount of information.
No doubt.
That's redonkulous. Wow, thank you, sir. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
So why don't you tell me about your experience getting into The Bird with the Crystal Plumage? What was your first encounter? How do you feel about this movie now? You've had a chance to sit with it for a few years, as I imagine you have.
Okay, in a nutshell, we saw Deep Red. And of course, I started looking into more Gialli, which is a roundabout way of how I met you. Everyone on the internet had recommended The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I went to our local mall, where they had a very pricey a copy of the Blue Underground double disc DVD. I believe I paid $29.98 for this film. At the time, I really didn't have the money to spend, but I did anyway. And we watched it. I thought it was great. I still think it's great. I think it's a very important Giallo. It is very much, on one level, it is very much the Halloween of the. It is to Gialli what Halloween is to slashers. It's not the first Giallo, but it is the one that popularized them. The same way that Halloween is not the first slasher, but it is the one that popularized them. You know, and as far as like thematic, I would point to Deep Red more for Halloween. There's some things there.
Yeah.
This blew the doors off Giallo films being made in Italy in the early 70s. Looking at it now, it's a great Giallo. It is one that I show to people it's one of my go-to to show people, but it's not one of my go-tos for my personal viewing. It's a great film. I really, really like it. It's just not one that I go to a lot. I think one of the reasons maybe I've seen it too many times. I also have the Blu-ray, the Blue Underground Blu-ray that's now out of print. As far as a debut feature goes, it's outstanding. I think he had a lot of help, of course, from Storaro. Dario directs with a very sure hand, especially for his first film. I think he probably took a lot of self-satisfaction from the fact that he had been a film critic. And now it's somewhat reminiscent, I think, of Peter Bogdanovich, who had been a film critic and then took a hand and made something that was critically acclaimed right out of the gate.
Right.
I think that he was very self-satisfied, probably, with how well it turned out, considering it was his first film, and he could, point to other directors, perhaps, that he had criticized their work and said, "See, I can do it too." There's not a lot of fat in the film. The funny parts are funny. It relieves a little bit of tension. And as we'll discuss further on, there are homosexual characters in all three of the Animal Trilogy films. This guy's funny. He's camp, but he's still, he's not really an object of ridicule, which I find to be interesting, especially in the early 70s. Susie Kendall is hysterical there towards the end. The scene where the killer's trying to break into the apartment, she gives up early and just flails about on the floor.
Oh God!
And I can only think that maybe that was the way the part was written. I don't know, but no. I mean, I really enjoy the film, like I said, but it's not, when I'm thinking of watching Giallo, it's not one that I personally go to. Although when I show people Gialli, I'm like, well, you've got to see this. And if I made a subjective list of the best Gialli, it's definitely top 10, probably top 5. It's just it blew the doors open.
Yeah.
There had been Gialli made beforehand, but the success of the film financially and critically started the factory for the next, seriously, for the next 3 years.
Oh, definitely.
But no, I mean, it put Argento on the map. It's a very stylish film. I think a lot of that credit also goes to Storaro, who was also really just finding his feet. If you look at this and then look at the Fifth Chord that was made the next year, his style as a cinematographer has gone way up as well. All around, great Giallo. I'm very glad I've got that Blue Underground Blu-ray because it's commanding a pretty penny right now on the internet. What about you?
Well, for me, I found this film on the VCI disc first. I was really interested in Gialli after I believe I saw Deep Red and Tenebrae. I saw Phenomena earlier. So I think that I kind of knew about the subgenre, and so I was approaching Bird of the Crystal Plumage with, maybe a more critical or a very high expectations. I did not like this film very much. The first viewing or two, I really felt like it was one of those cases where the original that inspired your favorites is not as good, or I don't know. It just didn't strike me as that interesting, and I really hated Susie Kendall. But deep down, I knew something important about it. There was something important about it. Over the years, I've totally turned around this movie. I still don't, like you, I hold it up very high in my esteem, but it's not a go-to title. at all.
Right.
Like, when we decided to do this episode, it was exciting because I'm analyzing it more and like really staring at the TV, Right. And I did watch it, for my Giallo Meltdown book, and every time I approached it, that way, I really enjoyed more and more of what I saw, and now it's just a great, great movie. I still have some complaints about it, but they're melting away as the years go by.
Nice.
I feel like this one and the film we're about to talk about have less of a Argento vibe. I think Argento would really come into his own and have a feeling, a theme. I mean, this movie is his, but it doesn't capture what is really special about Argento. He really wouldn't show signs of that until Four Flies, which we'll talk about. This is a phenomenal film and absolutely a perfect film to show to somebody, to show them what a Giallo is. And,
I agree.
And this became the copied film. This became parodied, and just the imagery from this really changed the game. Absolutely great. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else to add. I think that's pretty much it for Bird of the Crystal Plumage. You said many wonderful things.
As did you.
Woo woo. All right, well, let's take a short break, and I'll play the trailer for Cat o' Nine Tails, and I hope you like cookies. Cookie! Yay! My voice is still kind of shot from my cold. I can't get those high pitches, so I unfortunately can hit.
The Animal Trilogy Part 2, 1, 2, 3.
That was beautiful.
I appreciate it.
So anyway, comic books. Oh no, we're getting distracted. It's like, welcome to Richard and Brad's podcast, where they talk about other podcasts, where they listen to podcasts.
Podcast.
It's so funny? I'm not sick anymore, but I still sound like crap. Damn it.
I always sound like crap.
You always sound like a bag of awesome spilled onto a whole cheeseburger of greatness.
That is the finest compliment anyone has ever paid me.
I aim to please, or I just aim when I please.
I hope that you can't pick up my neighbors upstairs who are playing their music really loudly.
What are they listening to?
Something terrible. They're awful people. They're awful people. They're awful ass people. Is it wrong to kill your neighbors?
No.
I didn't think so.
As evidenced by that movie where they killed the neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah.
You backed me up in court.
Hell yeah, I was there when you decided to do it. I totally told you it was all right.
You know, it would be awesome if they died. And then they used this show as evidence against me.
Oh no! This is not valid in court. It's a podcast. If you have batteries in the Sony, you can go up there and we'll listen to them die.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this movie. Let's focus on the 9 tails
of the cat.
Meow.
The masters of tension, who gave you The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, the picture that out-psychoed Psycho, have now made a film 9 times more suspenseful. Cat o' Nine Tails. Cat o' Nine Tails. It's 9 times more suspenseful than The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Rated GP.
Okay, 1971, The Cat o' Nine Tails, directed by Dario Argento. I'm going to refer to IMDb once again for the plot synopsis, because this is all you need to know. A newspaper reporter and a retired blind journalist try to solve a series of killings connected to a pharmaceutical company's experimental, top-secret research projects, and in doing so, both become targets of the killer. And that's all you need to know. Bye, everybody.
That was it.
Yep. All right, so I have a huge page of notes. I'm going to start reading them. Please interject
Please do.
and make me sound smart, Brad.
I will.
This movie opens with some fluty music. I would say that Ennio Morricone... Did we even talk about Ennio Morricone in the last one?
No. That's my fault.
By the way, Ennio Morricone did the music for Bird the Crystal Plumage. He's a jazz man.
Like he needs help. Like he needs more recognition.
Right.
You know who he is.
I'll say this now. I love the score of Bird the Crystal Plumage. Lots of discordant jazz numbers and badass drumming.
There it is.
We said it. Okay. This time you have a make or break piece of music. The opening theme of Cat o' Nine Tails is very different. It sounds almost like something from a drama. It's really odd. I'll put a little sample of it for you here so you can hear it's very schmaltzy kind of. A little weird. But I like it. Not saying I don't like it, just saying it makes me feel queasy. We meet Cookie, aka Carl Malden, and Lori, a little girl. What is her? I don't know. Did they even credit children in movies?
I think it was a midget.
It was a little man. It was an early film appearance from that dude in Burial Ground.
It was.
It was Cynthia De Carolis is Lori. No one cares. She's a kid actor. Blah. If you're a kid actor listening to this, I don't care.
He don't care.
Don't respect you. Lori and Carl Malden, a.k.a. Cookie, they're walking home one evening, and they overhear a conversation in two characters sitting in a car. And this starts the ball rolling for the whole mystery. The killer, although this person isn't really a killer at first, that we see their eyeball. We'll be seeing their eyeball a lot. It's a very angry-looking eyeball with lots of blood vessels. Getting mad just talking about it.
Angry.
Very angry. This killer, soon-to-be killer, breaks into the Terzi Institute. Get a lot of POV shots. We have no idea what this person is after. Does he kill the guard, or does the guard survive?
I think the guard survives.
Because, this guard is, beaten up, bloody, blood-soaked hair on his head. It's really, looks like an ouchie boo-boo, as doctors call it. The music changes completely from the fluty beginnings. Fluty. Sounds like
Fluty.
To
Fluty.
Some very tense, I call them torture violins. And this is
torture
the work
violins.
Of the aforementioned Morricone and Bruno Nicolai. For some reason, Cookie, I'm going to stop calling him Cookie. That's his name. Franco Arno, so I'll probably call him Arno if I can remember it. Does he live? He lives right next door to the Institute. His window overlooks the courtyard, I believe, where this crime is taking place. Who would have thought, this badass blind dude is going to be one of the two amateur detectives in this film? I just don't get it. Okay.
Coincidence.
The next day, the news that someone broke into this Terzi Institute is all over the place, which draws the attention of a man named Giordani, played by James Franciscus, and he is beautiful.
He is.
He is a tenacious Ken doll of a man. He's a reporter that is there. He bumps into Arno, very literally, and he gets... They kind of exchange names, and we're going to have them meet up later. We meet Giordani's buddy, a photographer, who will be important later. His name is Righetto, played by Vittorio Congia. He's there photographing everything. So he says he's photographing all the doctors that work at this institute. He's photographing the owner. He's also photographing Anna Terzi, the daughter of the owner of the place. She has huge hair.
Big hair.
She dresses sort of inappropriately, but not in a sexy way. Just her outfits are really stupid.
Yeah.
This is one of the oddest, not so much an odd actress choice, so much as an odd stylistic choice. She looks bizarre in this movie. I don't know what they're going for. Anna Terzi is played by Catherine Spock.
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 The search for Spock.
Spock.
Yeah, I said it.
You did. She's a Vulcan. What do you want to do? That's what the big hair is for, covering up the ears. Damn it. When Giordani asks about what they do at the Terzi Institute, I really like. It is a genetic research laboratory that can tell you if you're a virile man, and it can tell you the sex of your child, or whether or not you're going to have a lantern jaw kid or something. It's
more pseudoscience. Nobody can do that.
I know, it's crazy. It's irresponsible of scientists to even attempt such things.
Thank you.
He refers to that as bang bang stuff, and that makes me laugh every time I watch this movie. So, one of the scientists, a gentleman named... fudge. Oh, it really would have been nice to have written that down.
But, I mean, what are you going to do? We didn't know we were going to do this.
It's Radarazimov's dude, right?
Yes. His name...
Is it Calabrese?
It's Calabrese.
Okay. He is played by Carlo Alighiero. He has the bright idea. He knows what the potential killer was doing in the Institute. So he has the bright idea to blackmail this person, and then he immediately eats a train. He schedules a meeting with the killer in a public place. Unfortunately, he chooses a train platform and gets pushed in front of a train in a very standout, amazing, crazy death scene. The photographer buddy, Righetto, is actually there to photograph a supermodel or an actress or someone famous who's riding on said train. He manages to capture a photo of the man dying, which, interestingly enough, gets on the front page. Like, the actual moment of his death is on the front page of a newspaper.
It's crazy.
Love it. Next thing you know, Carl Malden, a.k.a. Arno, is going to see Giordani in his office. And it is a brilliant scene as Malden is thinking about Giordani and going to the office. We're cutting back and forth between him actually meeting up with Giordani. It's like a cross-cut showing you his thoughts projected into the event that's about to happen. It's awesome. I think it happens more than once. No, it happens once in this movie and then again later in Four Flies. It's really cool. They decide to start solving this mystery together. Arno, before his accident, which made him blind and made him take care of a little girl who calls him Cookie.
Cookie.
He was a newspaper man. Cookie. They become an unlikely mystery-solving duo. That's what my notes say. Because
your notes are right.
Hey, thank you. Malden likes solving puzzles. He is a typesetter. Hey, this is awesome. He's a blind typesetter who makes not only the crossword puzzle, but he also does I think they're called triptychs.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. You look at the picture and you solve a clue. I don't know. I don't do those things. I don't play Sudoku, bitch. Either. Where was I?
Where art thou?
Now we got the second victim. Realizing that they have been caught in the act by the said photographer, the killer pays a visit to old Righetto. Righetto is working on the photo because Arno wonders if the photo is cropped. Perhaps if they look at the photo, they'll be able to identify the killer. Suspenseful, right?
Very much so.
In one of my favorite scenes in this movie, poor Righetto is strangled to death by the killer just as he is making prints of the photo.
His death is really good in yellow.
Yeah, it's like this weird yellowish green, very creepy. Once Righetto is dead, we see that he's crying, like either from the strangulation or whatever. He has this single tear coming down from his eye. Very, very poignant, I thought. And then the killer decides to slash his face. I think, this is just my theory, the killer is trying to scare them off the case.
I don't know, that's a little far-fetched if you ask me.
That's messed up.
Why are you being so messed up towards me? Bottle rocket.
Oh, just so you know, Brad, I swear to God, I'm not ignoring you. You're so muffled right now. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry.
I think my phone
Is
line.
that better?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So I sort of heard what you said.
Oh, trust me, it was not important.
Oh, I think it was. Okay.
It wasn't.
So we get our first comedy character. We get Marcella, the cop. Oh boy, and I use comedy as a very relative term here. This is entirely up to you, as whether or not you find this fucking asshole funny. He's played by Corrado Olmi, and his bit is that his wife has this great episode. His wife has this great recipe for ravioli, and he won't shut the fuck up about it. He keeps telling everybody about it. And this is the point in my notes where I wrote, "Oh boy, lots of characters." I think this movie has a lot of people in it, so that it's just you're so inundated with people that you have no idea who the hell the killer could possibly be. But even just cops and doctors at the institute, it's just insane. We find out why Laurie calls Arno cookies. Or we find out why Julia... God damn it, Susie Kendall. Edit. We find out, most importantly, why Laurie calls Arno cookie, and that's because cookies are sweet. I'm sorry, but their relationship is really creepy.
Oh, I don't find it creepy.
Just Carl Malden with a little girl living alone.
He's blonde. He just won an Oscar.
For his nose.
Well, his nose won a separate Oscar.
Anyway, we get another comedy character in the form of the Crazy Barber. That was
Crazy Barber led to some confusion.
I'll play the dialogue from that scene. It's a lot of fun.
These reporters. Did you read the article?
No.
It says that the guy that did it could be a barber. That's exactly what it says. Isn't that right, Giuseppe? A crazy barber. I wonder where these reporters get some of their ideas. What's the matter, you hot?
No.
What I'm getting at, mister, is this. Let's say one of us goes crazy and decides to go after somebody with a razor. You wouldn't just go and cut him up any which way. Not after all those years of bending over customers' throats, being careful not to make the tiniest nick. No, sir. You can take my word for it. A barber goes off his rocker. The first thing he's going to want to do is make a nice, clean slash across somebody's throat. What's the matter? Did I nick you?
No.
Hey, I haven't finished yet.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
As Giordani gets a very special shave, and I don't mean down there, I mean on his face.
Wow.
The third victim of the movie is Miss Marusi, Miss Bianca Marusi, played by Rada Razumov.
They try their best to make her look dowdy. It doesn't work.
I will never say this again. Rada Razumov looks awful in this movie.
Yes,
I think they succeeded. Aside from her horrible wig, her terrible makeup and outfit, she also has a really awful wallpaper that looks like dead golden jellyfish.
It looks like clouds that are crying.
Do you think they're trying to make her look crappier than Catherine Spock? Because they could have just had her play a younger woman. That doctor could have just had his sexy girlfriend.
Well, you think about her in Barren Blood, which was made around the same time.
Right.
She is not dowdy at all.
No.
So
maybe it was her character thing. Maybe that's what she wanted to do.
Maybe it was.
Who knows? She's important because she has big hair. She has figured out where that is Crisco destroying my notes. I threw them on the floor for him to chew up. And he is very happily destroying my notes.
That is an amateur move, my friend.
I'm glad he's not destroying the notes I'm trying to read right now. That would be a little more annoying.
Are you like a newscaster? You just drop each sheet after you read it?
Yes. It's true. I'm like a bluescaster.
Dateline, 1971, Italy.
People are trying to blackmail the killer. They're fucking idiots. Film at 11. So yes, she knows where her husband, her fiance, kept the info that he thought was so important to the killer. So she finds it in his awesome car, by the way. So we know that, God, what was his name again?
Calabrese.
Calabrese was the owner of the car that the very important conversation that Arno and Laurie heard earlier, that was him. He hid some evidence in there. She takes the evidence and tapes it on the inside of her necklace.
I am going to say something that's going to make me sound dumber than usual.
Let's hear it.
I never made that connection that was the car in the first until you just said it.
I'm pretty sure because it's a big red and white.
I'd say you're absolutely right. I never thought about it. By saying that I made the connection, I didn't even do that. You said it.
Well, I will spoil things a little bit for people. I watch this movie a lot.
Yeah. Evidently I have too, but not enough.
Okay, so aside from her jellyfish wallpaper, we find out more about Anna Terzi as Giordani hangs out with her. She's a bored rich chick. She drives like a total psycho. It's a
crazy,
kind of a funny scene with Giordani trying to step on the brakes from the passenger side. She outruns the cops. It's good stuff.
Is that the only car chase scene in Argento's filmography?
Yeah, and it's a good one. It's meant to be funny, I think. I mean, obviously it's funny.
It's a good one.
It's pretty harrowing. It doesn't look shitty. It looks really good.
No, it does look really good.
The cops, of course, she loses them so they can go to this really awful rooftop restaurant / bar or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be, where they drink J&B like you do. She explains what they're doing at the Institute. Finally, right? Oh, no, it's been explained a few times. What they're trying to do is these scientists have discovered the XYY gene. It affects, I don't remember how many people, by percentage or whatever. But if you have this XYY gene, supposedly you're more likely to be a violent criminal. Pseudoscience again.
At its finest. Yes.
Holy crap. That's what this whole deal is about. That's what the crux of this is all about. Next thing you know, Giordani goes to the St. Peter's Club, a gay bar. Or as I wrote in my notes, gay bar. Because
nuclear war. The gay bar.
They don't play the music from the... What was it? What was the gay bar in Police Academy? Oh my god. All I remember is the... There you go.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last time I'll ever reference Police Academy on our show.
It better not be.
Oh, there'll maybe blowjob jokes. I don't know. Whatever. Steve Gutenberg. You just Gutenberged me, bruh. Oh, yeah. So he goes to this gay bar because Dr. Braun, played by the amazing Horst Frank, the man that I strive to become one day. Since I've got some German...
You're already cooler.
I got no way. Got some German blood in me. I can do it.
You don't have the bug eyes that he does in this film.
I don't have the George Hamilton burnt skin either, so I can't do it. But I do like Horst Frank a lot. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, he's cool.
At this gay bar is I kind of see your point. These are not negatively portrayed gay characters. These are just stereotypes.
Yeah.
You got like cross-dressers and very catty kind of gay guys, not being too feminine, but just being bitchy. And it's very amusing to me.
Yeah, they're funny, but they're not really being poked fun at.
No. It's not like The Photographer in Case the Bloody Iris, where it's like...
Not at all.
But still, now that I think about it, I mean...
Isn't that just true? That's how they are.
No. So he has a little convo with Professor Braun. I don't remember it. He gives him some more clues, but it's not anything earth-shattering.
All right, here's what we got so far. 5 scientists, plus Anna, makes 6. Bianca Marusi, 7. Missing photographs, 8. Attempted robbery at the Institute, 9. Think of anything else?
No, nothing else.
That's it then. 9 leads to follow. It's a cat with 9 tails.
A cat of 9 tails, like the old naval whip. If we could just latch on to one of those 9 tails, we'd be on our way to solving the puzzle.
Yeah, but which one?
And we'd better hurry. Because whoever it is getting desperate.
So we go back to lovely Miss Marusi, Miss Bianca, and she is talking on the phone with Giordani or Arno, I forget which one, but she's very pointedly not saying what she knows over the phone.
Right.
As people always do in mystery films. Just say it. No one's tapping your line, dumbass.
No. This also means that she's very close to death.
Exactly. Killer shows up, strangles her to death, bashing her face into the carpet, kind of reminding me of Sleepless, except her teeth don't get knocked out. There's some bloody foam that she spits in the carpet. It's pretty brutal. It's definitely uncomfortable to watch, so nice work, Argento. The killer almost gets away with this crime. Killer starts fumbling around with the necklace that she has. It has the picture of her fiance where she has taped the evidence against the killer inside there. Which is funny to me because the tape that she used was in the glove box of her fiance's car. So why do scientists keep Scotch tape in their car glove box?
No one knows.
In Florida, I think it would just melt. It is suggested that they round up all the XY wires, like segregate them to protect society. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, like how they're going to do that.
Giordani goes back to his place. Anna shows up there, Anna Terzi. He picks up his milk in those triangle packets that we're all so familiar with here in America. We notice that the milk is dripping because, dun dun dun, it's fucking poison. We get to see Anna Terzi's apology boobs.
I heard a podcast once, and I don't remember which one it is, but they referred to her tits as flapjack tits.
Oh, no. I think apology breasts is bad enough. It's mainly because she reveals them so apologetically. Flapjacks. Oh, my God.
Wah, wah.
There's definitely a sad trombone playing.
Yeah, there was.
I just want to say that Lieta, my wife, and I always share a moment over those boobs. It's just such an awkward scene. The fact that Giordani uses this horrible pickup line on her about people making love all over the world, and it's, oh God, it's so...
Yeah, it's definitely weird.
There's something missing with this whole bit. There's something wrong with the women in this movie. I can't quite place it, other than the obviously terrible wigs they wear.
Her clothes are ridiculous.
At the same time that Giordani is nearly getting poisoned by the milk, because, of course, they have some post-coital milk drinking.
Yeah, and this is a callback to Hitchcock's Suspicion, where there is a poisoned glass of milk.
And we know it's poisoned.
Not. We do.
Okay. It's pretty suspenseful. I think it works.
It does.
Giordani gets a phone call from Arno. He's been gassed in his apartment. Someone has left the gas on, probably the killer. He warns him, and that gives Giordani the clue that the milk is poisoned, so he slaps that milk right out of her hand. Very funny. Then he does something really stupid. He tastes the milk to see if it's poisoned. He tastes something bad and spits it out. Like, what if it was cyanide, dumbass?
Yeah.
That scene always annoys me. That little moment really annoys me when he tastes the poison. Finally, we get the comedy character of the century, Gigi the Loser. Oh boy. Gigi the Loser is played by the very attractive Ugo Fangareggi, or Reggie. This guy is a very unique looking actor. Huge jaw, crazy hair, crazy. I had a friend who had hair just like that. It was a really crazy haircut. He was a metalhead, but he listened to Halloween. It should give you some idea to his character.
That's crazy.
Yep. I refer to him as the lantern jaw enthusiast and career criminal.
Wow.
I know. We meet this character. He is in a bar having an insult fight with another gentleman, and he beats the guy. He thrashes this guy in an insult fight with like 137 insults or something. It's ridiculous. It is one of the silliest things ever, and I kind of like it. The reason we're meeting this guy is Giordani is going to hire him out to help him break into Mr. Terzi's house. I haven't mentioned Professor Fulvio Terzi, the owner of the Institute and adopted father of Anna, which we'll find out soon, played by Tino Carraro. They break into his house to see if we have some evidence about him being the killer, perhaps. And they go through his diary, which is really bizarre. He's a total creepo. He adopted Anna and immediately falls in love with her as she grows into a woman. And he writes it all down in his diary. No, keep those crazy thoughts inside, buddy. But we think that, her adoption is some clue to the case. It's not. Okay, so they break out. No one gets caught. Then Umberto Rajo shows up. He approaches Giordani. His character's name is Manuel's ex-lover.
Wow.
Anyway, he wants to get his boyfriend back from Professor Braun. Braun stole Manuel. Manuel is played by Werner Pochath. But yeah, he's very jealous and he wants his boyfriend back. So he's going to tell Giordani where Dr. Braun is. I forgot to mention that Dr. Braun has kind of disappeared during all this, so making him even more of a suspect. Because we find out that Dr. Braun has decided to blackmail the killer as well, which is brilliant. Braun is dead, obviously, and there's a great fight between Giordani and Manuel. Nothing really comes of it. Through memory, because of course Argento's movies are always memory-based, Arno remembers that the sound of Bianca's necklace dealie probably meant that she hid the evidence. Man, this is tenuous. She hid the evidence that will reveal the identity of the killer in the necklace, and she was buried with it after she got killed. So in a great scene, a fucking phenomenal scene, Giordani and him go to the cemetery, break into her family tomb, and are in the process of stealing said locket to get the evidence, when in the great set piece of the movie, Arno, the lookout, the blind lookout, mind you, brilliant, he gets attacked, and Giordani gets shut inside the tomb, locked inside.
At first, it's edited and filmed in a way that you wonder if Cookie's not locked him in there.
Yes, on purpose. After a time, when his flashlight fails, because of course the flashlights always fail, Arno comes back in, wide-eyed, and holding what we didn't know was a sword inside of his, a very short, just like a dagger edge on the end of his cane that he has with him all the time. It's got blood on it. He looks very suspicious, as if shutting your friend in a tomb wasn't suspicious enough. But he has fought the killer off and has stabbed him. So now, whoever the killer is will have a wound from Mr. Arno. It's just a haunting shot of him walking into the tomb. It was a very gothic kind of approach. We discover that the killer has kidnapped Laurie, and it is unsettling on multiple levels because we see Laurie through the killer's eyes as he is paying a taxi driver, and the taxi driver's like, I think I just was an accessory to a crime. The taxi driver looks very guilty as the killer is taking Laurie away from her guardians that were in place while Arno was busy solving a murder. and he's just taking this poor little girl, putting her in his car and taking her away, and it just looks really wrong. Like,
well, he smacks her.
What's that?
He smacks her.
Yeah, she gets a little lippy, so he like just smacks her across the face. And the way she falls down in the back of the car, in the back seat, it's like, it's very pedophilia, kind of like, where's this going? Like, what other chromosomes does this killer have?
Yeah. Yikes.
Okay, so everything leads back to the Institute, where Arno and Giordani are there to find out who the killer is finally, as well as get Lori back and save her life. The cops show up as well, and there's a rooftop chase sequence that's really well done. We find out who the killer was. It is Dr. Cassoni, played by Aldo Reggiana. It was discovered that he had the XYY and he'd be ruined, so he chose to be an asshole and hide the evidence and then kill multiple people in order to cover it up.
Kill people everywhere, everyone that could have possibly known.
And I have the XYY virus, let's call it a virus. I have the XYY gene as well, and I don't appreciate him making me look bad. Like, just seeing this movie makes me want to kill somebody.
I mean, you're one of the most even-keeled people that I know.
I'm an even keeler. I keel people. That was really dumb. As the cops are confronting, he tells Arno a lie that he killed Lori, which, did I mention he beat the living crap out of Giordani?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he beat the living crap out of him with a 2x4. It was awesome. Not that I want to see Ken doll beat up too much, but hey, it happens. He lies to Arno and says that he's killed Lori, and it drives Arno temporarily insane, and he attacks Cassoni, knocking him down into a skylight over a elevator shaft, conveniently. And as he falls, he tries to grab onto the ropes, and there's some serious ass burning rope hand thing. It's really,
man, it's hard to watch.
Man, it's hot on multiple levels. And he falls to his death. The last line of the movie, unfortunately, is "Cookie!"
Cookie!
So those are my notes on the movie. Did I miss anything that you want to talk about? Or did I just kill the whole experience for you?
No. When Dr. Calabrese calls the killer and is setting up the blackmail, as he's hanging up the phone, there's a cut to someone else hanging up a phone, and they're very similar phones, which makes you believe that whoever he is talking to is inside the building.
Nice.
I had never noticed that before until the other night.
That is cool. I still haven't noticed that.
All the deaths in this film are spectacular. In my opinion, the least death in this is better than all the deaths in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I think that the framing and the method of killing is so much, it has advanced quite a bit since The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. You've got Dr. Calabrese in the train, the photographer getting killed, Bianca Maruzzi, played by Rada Rasimov. I think her death, just all the deaths in this are just tremendous. There's some split diopter in the film. The scene where Manuel's ex-lover, Umberto Rejo, goes and sees.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some split diopter there, which is really nice. And of course, he's doing split diopter before De Palma. That kind of became De Palma's thing.
Big time.
Of course, we mentioned The Milk is a callback. Hitchcock's Suspicion with Cary Grant. To Catch a Thief is a Hitchcock film that I'm not as familiar with, but someone on the internet said that the car chase scene is similar to that. I do know that the rooftop chase scene at the end is very Vertigo-ish, especially the beginning and the end. This film I got on DVD, and I'm trying to think when. It was after I'd been into Gialli for a little while, and personally I think that it's his most underrated Giallo. It was a very successful film. It's one that Argento himself doesn't like. I'm not really sure why. You may have an idea of why. Of the Animal Trilogy, it's the longest film of the three. Apparently in America, it was cut down to 90 minutes. It's like an hour and 51 minutes long. So there's a solid 21 minutes cut out of it for the American cut.
Terrible. And
I can see where some could be cut and not really affect it, but I think as a whole, it's almost like it's Argento's Death Walks on High Heels, possibly, in the sense that it's kind of a giallo epic. There's a lot going on.
Nice.
I really like Carl Malden's character. James Franciscus as Carlo Giordani I really enjoy his character. I like him. He's a nice guy. Even his stupid come on line is not really threatening.
No.
No, I think there's a lot of style in this film, and I think that people overlook it when they talk about great gialli, and especially Argento's gialli. And something that you said earlier, I totally agree with. It's that really Four Flies is where he really started coming to his own, and of course we'll talk more about that when we get to that film. But I really do think it's underrated. I've got the Blu-ray myself as well, so I've got the DVD and the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray is outstanding. Blue Underground did an excellent job, as usual. It almost goes without saying. It's an Oscar winner in Carl Malden. I think, obviously, Storaro won an Oscar. Those may be the only two Oscar winners that know. Piper Laurie won an Oscar. So Argento's worked with a few Oscar winners.
Oh, yeah.
I assume that it was sort of a deal where Malden wanted a vacation in Italy. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, me too.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think he puts in a great performance. I like him a lot. He's clever. His blindness does not limit him at all.
Oh.
Really, outside of being able to see. I guess that probably sounds moronic.
It's kind of like a super blind person.
I did read, and I could see how somebody would think this. Somebody thought maybe that he was psychic for most of the film because of some of the cutting techniques that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It does seem like he thinks of something, he says it out loud, and then we're seeing it.
Yeah.
But really, instead of, I could see the psychic angle, but it's almost like they're using his blindness. We're seeing what's he seeing in his mind, maybe.
That's really cool.
It's not necessarily, it's really cool.
I hadn't thought
it adds another layer. The set pieces, like you said, the whole film, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
From the get-go, where they're outside walking and he's got to tie his shoe, and they're listening, and he's asking Laurie what she's seeing. I just think it's a tremendous film, all around. Personally, I find it, in my opinion, to be a step up from The Bird of the Crystal Plumage. I'm really a big fan of this one.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know when in my Argento timetable I saw this one. I was very aware when I saw it that it was perceived as a lesser film of his. And so it really smacked me across the face when I watched it. I was like, how is this even remotely bad at all? I do see it being a busy movie, like you're saying. There's a lot going on. It's a big movie. You could cut stuff out of it, and I mean, I've never seen a shorter version, but I could see how it would still work, where you'd have there's a lot of leads that don't go anywhere, but it's interesting to see them chase after those leads, those red herrings, I love this movie. I can watch this one over and over and over again, whereas I struggle with Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and I sometimes feel a little, hate to say it, I kind of want to look at my watch sometimes when I'm watching Four Flies. We'll discuss more about that in a little bit, but this one is just so easy to watch. Out of all of his movies, I don't know why, I can throw this on anytime. Everything about this movie is great. The color palette, wonderful. It's just fantastic. Like you said, a fantastic looking film. But I can see why Argento would be pissed that this was his big hit financially, and at the time there might be less obvious artistry. I think maybe ramping up the violence, which is pretty interesting with Bird of the Crystal Plumage having some standout scenes of brutality, and this movie being really over the top. All the crazy deaths, the ostentatious set pieces, versus, and this is really surprises me, that the murders in Four Flies, by comparison, are not nearly as crazy as these. There's more craziness in Four Flies, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, I just, this movie's so great. I think people are crazy that don't like it. Crazy.
I do too.
Although Catherine Spock, come on.
You know what? I googled Catherine Spock. She is extremely attractive.
Why did they
I would not have picked. You image search her, and I would not have guessed that was her.
Weird.
Yeah, she's very attractive. In fact, she's 69 years old, and she's still a very attractive woman.
I do like her Velcro tearaway outfit in that one scene, though.
Yeah.
Generous helping of trivia here.
Please.
All right. So, because of the success of Bird of the Crystal Plumage, the budget for Cat o' Nine Tails was bigger. It was also guaranteed better distribution in the United States through National General Pictures. Anthony Franciosa, I wish. Anthony Franciscus. And probably Carl Malden as well, was added to the cast to increase the American moviegoer interest. Shooting began in August of 1970. The film was supposed to come out in January of 1971, but producer and guy in charge of distribution for Titanus Films, Goffredo Lombardo, thought the film wouldn't scare anyone. This disagreement was resolved, and the film was only delayed by a month. I don't know how they resolved that argument, but there you go. It was released in Italy on February 11th, 1971, and then it was released in the United States later that year in May of 1971. I didn't need to say 1971 twice. Go for it. Okay, the film did even better than Bird of the Crystal Plumage. It made twice the money of its predecessor, and like you're saying, although it is one of his most successful films, Argento does not like it, but it did do so well that it allowed him to do Four Flies on Grey Velvet with very little interference from co-producers and distributors.
Nice.
On a gravestone in the cemetery is a phrase, di Dario, which means from Dario in Italian. Sure, that was just an accident.
We're stupid.
Just an accident. Let's see. Like you're saying, the original theatrical cut for United States audiences was 20 minutes shorter. Let's see. A heavily edited 90-minute version also exists. This shortened print omits most of the violence and references to homosexuality, was released on VHS in the early 1990s. And this is something I will go back for and look for. In one scene, a doctor is humming the theme from the Bird of the Crystal Plumage.
Really?
Which, I don't know how you do that. I don't even know what the theme of the Bird of the Crystal Plumage is, but sure. When Giordani compliments Anna's legs, I believe he says something to the effect of, "You have nice legs, it's a pleasure to meet them." The line is a reference to The Big Sleep. Which I believe the line is, "You have nice legs, it's a pleasure to make their acquaintance," or something like that. One scene was cut from all versions of the film, is the one where James Franciscus, Giordani, is recovering from his wounds in the hospital with Catherine Spock by his side. Supposedly, Luigi Cozzi recommended to Argento that he cut this scene. Luigi Cozzi, I believe, co-wrote this one? I could be.
Luigi Colo.
Okay, well...
And Dardano.
I know Luigi Cozzi and Argento were hanging.
That was the last time anyone ever took advice from Luigi Cozzi.
Oh, man. Good point. I got some taglines here. It's 9 times more suspenseful.
True.
So true. From the masters of tension who gave you Bird with the Crystal Plumage, this is the picture that out-psychoed Psycho. Here's another one I like. These people are having the last time of their lives. And
wow.
Here we go. Cat o' Nine Tails gives you the best. That's what a great suspense picture is all about.
Okay.
In all caps, blind terror. When a maniac killer would stop at nothing. And translated from the German poster, the brand new Edgar Wallace style. Even harder, yet crafty, more exciting.
Okay.
I translated that directly and didn't change a word, so it probably does not sound that dumb in German. Finally, I have a category I will call Trivia Fucktard.
Okay.
This is what it says on IMDb. Arno must help Laurie read a simple word from his crossword puzzle. Later, Laurie has no problem reading Carlo Giordani from the newspaper. Brad, do you know why that's fucking retarded? Do you remember that scene?
I do.
Giordani is not reading a simple word to Laurie. He has one of those triptychs with images, and she can't solve it. It's images that when
she's the idiot.
Ugh. He's not explaining a word to her. Who wrote that? That's listed as part of the Goofs trivia. So, no, that is not a goof. Morons. The whole pseudoscience plot is a goof, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. I will mention this. The film title is actually spoken aloud in the film, but this is the only film of the three that does not actually contain the animal of its title.
Ooh.
There is no cat with 9 tails in The Cat of Nine
That's
Tails.
too bad.
There is a bird with crystal plumage, and there are 4 flies on gray velvet.
Nice.
In that film, but there's no cat of 9 tails or a cat with 9 tails, because that would be a freak show.
Brad, what about this cast? Who the fuck are all these people?
James Franciscus played Carlo Giordani. He was in a television show called Naked City back in the 50s. He was the lead of a show called Hunter, not the one you're thinking of. This one was from the 70s. He was in Concord Affair 79. He was in a TV movie, One of My Wives is Missing. He was Dr. Ben Elliott in the TV series Doc Elliott. He was the voice of Livingston Seagull and Jonathan Livingston Seagull. He was in a film called The 500-Pound Jerk, which was a TV movie. He was in The Valley of Gwangi, which is it's a Harryhausen film, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And possibly of most interest to genre fans, he was in Beneath the Planet of the Apes from the year previous.
Classic.
Carl Malden, of course, was in On the Waterfront, a streetcar named Desire. He teamed up with a young Michael Douglas in the Streets of San Francisco television show. Catherine Spock, she is in some other films. Murder is a Murder. She's in Take a Hard Ride. Have you seen that? It is a spaghetti western with Jim Brown, Lee Van Cleef, and Fred Williamson. It's directed by Marguerite.
I think I have seen that many years ago.
It's from 1975.
Yeah.
I've got it, but I haven't seen it. She was a recording artist. She recorded music back in the day. She's in The Libertine from 1968. A sexy widow discovers her late husband had a secret apartment where he cheated on her. Now she decides to use the same apartment to explore her sexuality.
Finally.
Yeah, and the quote from it's got Jean-Louis Trintignant in it. The quote from ABC TV is, makes Hugh Hefner's Playboy penthouse look like a nursery school. So I want to see that, actually.
That's hot.
Pier Paolo Capone, who played the police superintendent. I think we know him. He is in Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion, as well as Il Boss, The Boss.
Yeah.
From Fernando De Leo.
He has beautiful hair.
He has wonderful hair. He's Inspector Vizmara in one of your favorites, Seven Blood-Stained Orchids, which is one of my favorites too. But
yes.
whenever I see that, I always think of you, because I know that's one of your personal favorites. He's in Delito de Autor.
That's right.
I
don't think he wasn't even a cop in that movie.
Yeah, that one. That one's escaping me. Which one is that? From 1974.
It was the one you and I watched over the phone. We played it at the same time and watched it. It's in really bad condition. It has Luigi Pistilli and
Silva Casina.
Yeah, and it's art. It's another art theft, but the art leads to a murder.
Right. Horst Frank. Been in everything ever.
Oh my God, so good.
He's in The Dead or Alive. He's in So Sweet, So Perverse. The Moment to Kill. Django, Prepare a Coffin. Johnny Hamlet, which I've seen, which I like that one. That one was
Johnny
pretty
Hamlet's
good.
Solid.
Rada Razumov, of course, she is the sister of Ivan. She is in The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. Perhaps some folks have heard of that. The Cat of Nine Tails, of course. Baron Blood. And she's got a really good part in Baron Blood.
Yeah, she does. Classic.
Yeah, I really like that one. I wonder, is she still alive?
Yes, according to IMDb, she is still alive.
Wow. Dr. Cassoni is played by Aldo Reggiani. He was in The Sunday Woman. Perhaps you've heard of that. Carlo Alighiero. That's my best.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He was Dr. Calabrese. He is also in The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward.
Yeah.
He is in Gambling City, The Suspicious Death of a Minor, Roma Amano Armada. He's Uncle Nino in Torso.
Uncle Nino.
Tom Falahy is in this. He is in a ton of stuff. The House of Witchcraft from '89.
Nice.
From Corleone to Brooklyn with Lindsay. Eyes Behind the Stars. He's in Damned at Venice. Caligula's Hot Nights. The Red Knights of the Gestapo. Violet Naples. Violent Nipples. He is actually in Obsession, which I find to be very... I don't remember him in Obsession, but that's another way we can tie Argento to De Palma. I like Obsession quite a bit. Of course, Umberto Rejo is in the film.
Oh, yeah.
I think that covers pretty much the majority of the folks. The cinematographer, Errico Menzer, who died in 2012, was also the cinematographer on The Dead or Alive.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. True story.
Man.
Oh, and he was also the cinematographer on a little film named Beatrice Cincy.
Hey, Fulci coming back.
Mm-hmm. And Ombre Roventi. You remember that one?
Oh, I do.
Shadow of Illusion.
Very bizarre movie. Very bizarre.
That's a Mario Keanu film.
Mm-hmm.
Attention listeners. We were too tired to finish this episode. We will record our thoughts on Four Flies on Grey Velvet another time. Thanks for listening.
Hey folks, thanks for listening. If you want to contact the show, it's doomedmoviethon@gmail.com, or if you want to hear our archived episodes, you can go to doomedmoviethon.com and click on the podcast link. Hey folks, I just wanted to tell you about a podcast. It's the Shock Marathons podcast. These guys are awesome. They have written some great books, and they have made some great movies, and they've been a big inspiration to me. They have a podcast now. So check it out. It's the Shock Marathons podcast at shockmarathons.com, or you can find them in iTunes. This is their theme song. I had to play this for you. Listen to this theme song and then go check them out. shockmarathons.com.
We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shock Marathon.
Hello, my name is Rod Barnett.
I'm Troy Gwynn.
And we are your genial co-hosts for NashyCast, the podcast about the films of Paul Naschy. If you don't know who Paul Naschy is, you need to learn.
Spanish horror icon, writer, director, actor, makeup artist.
He is all of these things and more. Paul Naschy, one of the greatest genre filmmakers of all time. Do titles like Horror Rises from the Tomb,
Vengeance of the Mummy, Werewolf Shadow,
House of Psychotic Women,
Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll,
Mark of the Werewolf make you want to see more?
Watch the film, then come hear our stunning, brilliant commentary.
Stunning and brilliant. That's us. Think that's too egotistical? You think that sounds silly? Think we come off as assholes?
Look, if nothing else, let us tell you this. Blood, nudity, beautiful women, werewolves and turtlenecks.
Nipples. Lots of nipples. Both male and female. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's going to want to listen to us after this, man. Find us at The Bloody Pit of Rod, or
you can subscribe to us on iTunes.
Give us a listen. And if we scare you too much, well, maybe Spanish horror is not your thing. I don't know.